Using StatCrunch to test a one-sample proportion is also very simple. If we go Stat, Proportion Stats, one sample, we can either do with data or with summary. I'm first going to show with data. So here we're going to use the column type. So type is going to have two categories. What we want now is to have children be called our successes. So we type in children for successes. And by default, it's going to test the null hypothesis that p equals 0.5. If we click compute, you'll notice that we get this success is children. It tells us that 18 out of 45 samples are children. The sample proportion is 0.4, calculates a standard error, a z-stat, and a p-value. Now the nice thing here is that it's easy to go Options, Edit, and change what that null expectation is. So for example, we might expect that because children eat way more cereal than adults do, that say 2/3 of all cereals might be children's cereals. If we now click compute, we still get 18 out of 45, same standard error, but our z-stat is much, much different. Our z-stat now tells us that we are very, very far below where we expect it to be. We can see this by our sample proportion here. The p-value it calculates is similarly very small. Alternatively, if we go Options, Edit, we can scroll down a little bit further in the screen to get a confidence interval for p. If we click our confidence interval, compute, it'll still give us that same sample proportion, and it'll give us the lower and upper limits. So here we are 95% confident, because that's the values we started with, that the proportion of all cereals that are children's cereals are between 0.2568 and 0.5431553. We can do very similar things with summary data. So if you're given counts instead, we go Stat, Proportion Stats, one sample with summary. Now we simply enter in the number of successes and number of observations. So if you were to flip, say, 75 quarters and get 40 heads, so we have 40 heads in 75 observations, we can test our null hypothesis of a fair coin. Click compute and see that our sample proportion is very close to 50-50. It gives us a standard error, a z-statistic, and a fairly large p-value that would mean we would fail to reject our null hypothesis. Click Options, Edit. We can select a confidence interval instead. Click compute. You'll see that we're now 95% confident that our true population proportion of coins that will land heads is between 0.42 and 0.646. Just like in the others, we can click Options, Edit, and give ourselves a new confidence interval. So if we wanted a 90% confidence interval, we can change that to 0.90, click compute, and now we are 90% confident that we are between 0.438 and 0.628.